Welcome at the end of a week when the International Monetary Fund has warned that the global economy is in the danger zone because of the unresolved Eurozone crisis and faces a 1930s moment because things remain so bad. Well, joining our world debate in Davos, Lael Brainard, Under-Secretary at the US Treasury. Ms. Brainard is Chief Advisor to Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner for International Affairs. Nouriel Roubini is the economist renowned for predicting the dire impact of the 2008 financial collapse. His gloomy predictions earned him the nickname Dr. Doom. Angel Gurria is Secretary General of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which analyzes the economies of 34 countries, most in the developed world. Plus, Anders Borg, Finance Minister from Sweden. He was voted European Finance Minister of the Year by the Financial Times newspaper. Before helping to rescue Sweden's economy, he worked in the banking sector. That's our panel. Welcome to you all. Well, we've invited our global audience to raise issues and questions to our world debate panel via email, Facebook and Twitter. Whether in this room in Davos or around the world, you can tweet your thoughts during this live debate. The hashtag is BBC Davos. Well, our debate issue is 2012, the year for capitalism to be reinvented, question mark. Let me just check with our audience here. Who thinks capitalism is without flaws and does not need to be reinvented? Does anyone think that? There are 2 or 3 people here. We'll hope to hear from you later. How bad are things? Well, let's get a swift view, please, of the way things are moving. Angel Gurria, the view from the OECD.
Capitalism with a K, you know, it used to be a bad word. I'm going to talk about market economies rather than capitalism. And I don't think we have to reinvent it. We just have to have good policies. If we have good economic policies, fiscal policies, growth policies, employment policies, social policies, environmental policies, we're going to get it right. So it's not a question of saying that we have to reinvent capitalism or substitute it for some of the alternatives we know that did not work in the past.
Are you optimism or pessimistic at the moment?
Yes, I'm optimistic that we know what the solutions are. I'm less optimistic about whether we are actually taking the right decisions to put them in place.
Lael Brainard, your assessment at the moment from the US Treasury.
I think the big challenge for us in the U.S., and I think it's the same challenge with different characteristics for China and for the Euro area, is to grow differently. Going into the crisis, there were large imbalances and growth was increasingly unfair, unequal. Going forward, we're very focused on charting a path on growth that is more balanced and more fair. In the U.S., it means really restoring the American dream, making sure that American families have a fair share and a fair shot, not through excessive leverage that they cannot afford, but through the ability to raise their earnings, send their children to school, and to reinforce social mobility.
Does it need a new form of capitalism or not?
I think it requires large and difficult reforms. And let me say also that China needs to address some of its imbalances, internal inequality, and if it does so in a way that boosts the role of the domestic consumer, it will also help address some of the international imbalances that led to this crisis.
Anders Borg, your assessment, how difficult are things?
Well, I think we need to reinvent the way that companies and the economy is functioning. I think there will be no legitimacy for the market system if we're only talking about short-term profits. So companies have responsibilities to their employees, to the society. We cannot have a situation where the companies are only concentrating on bonuses and not paying the taxes. So, yeah, we need to have more of a social market economy, I think.
A different kind of capitalism, can it be redefined? Can it be reinvented?
More social, more responsible, but we also need to understand that also the political side of things, the welfare states need to be reformed in the years ahead of us.
Nouriel Roubini.
I would say there is a crisis of capitalism, but there are many different types of capitalism. There was a model that was the Anglo-Saxon model of laissez-faire, free market, not even prudential regulation supervision of the financial system, And that model is proven broken during the last financial crisis. We need proper regulation supervision. There was another model that was the social welfare state of continental Europe, but now we are seeing that that social welfare state is also in a crisis. You have deficits and debt that are becoming unsustainable. Now there's a third model that is emerging of what people refer to as state capitalism, what is being done in China, maybe in part in Russia, in some emerging markets. Is sort of working right now in China, but the Chinese themselves say that this is not a model that is sustainable and balanced, and eventually having too much reliance on state-owned enterprises, even in these economies, is going to prove dangerous. So we have really to rethink about how we have the right balance between markets, government, public policy, private enterprise.